to action. Okay? So we're going to start with one, and I think this is taking accountability of your actions. CJ, can we just play it before you go? Thank you. I don't want to mess that thing up. All right, so, CJ's here? Oh, there's two CJ here. So, again, all right, there you go. Thank you. Oh, is it connected to the... I know.
Take all the credit in the world for the things that you do right.
Is this where it's at?
As long as you also take responsibility. It must be a balanced equation.
You don't have sound right. Ask for sound.
All right.
In the 18th century, it was something that spread across Europe and eventually made its way to America called puerperal fever, also known as the Black Death of childbed. Basically what was happening is women...
This is where we grow. Right?
Nothing's perfect.
All right. There you go. Thank you. So we need tech people. We're better together.
You can take all the credit in the world for the things that you do right, as long as you also take responsibility for the things you do wrong. It must be a balanced equation.
Okay, thank you.
Accountability for your actions. You can take all the credit in the world for the things that you do right, as long as you also take responsibility for the things you do wrong. It must be a balanced equation. In the 18th century, there was something that spread across Europe and eventually made its way to America called puerperal fever, also known as the Black Death of childbed. Basically what was happening is women were giving birth and they would die within 48 hours after giving birth. This Black Death of childbirth was the ravage of Europe, and it got worse and worse and worse over the course of over a century. In some hospitals, it was as high as 70% of women who gave birth who would die as a result of giving birth. But this was the Renaissance. This was the time of empirical data and science, and we had thrown away things like tradition and mysticism. These were men of science, these were doctors. And these doctors and men of science wanted to study and try and find the reason for this Black Death of childbed, and so they got to work studying, and they would study the corpses of the women who had died. And in the morning they would conduct autopsies, and then in the afternoon they would go into the graves and finish their rounds. And it wasn't until somewhere in the mid-1800s that Dr. Oliver Wendell Holmes, father of Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, realized that all of these doctors who were conducting autopsies in the morning weren't washing their hands before they delivered babies in the afternoon. And he pointed it out and said, guys, you're the problem. And they ignored him and called him crazy for 30 years. Until finally somebody realized that if they simply washed their hands, it would go away. And that's exactly what happened. When they started sterilizing their instruments and washing their hands, the Black Death of childbed disappeared. My point is, the lesson here is, sometimes you're the problem. Take accountability for your actions. You can take all the credit in the world for the things that you do right, as long as you also take responsibility for the things you do wrong. It must be a balanced equation. You don't get it one way and not the other. You get to take credit when you also take accountability. Nelson Mandela is a particularly special case study in the leadership world because he is universally regarded as a great leader. He was actually the son of a tribal chief, And he was asked one day, how did you learn to be a great leader? And he responded that he would go with his father to tribal meetings. And he remembers two things when his father would meet with other elders. One, they would always sit in a circle. And two, his father was always the last to speak. You will be told your whole life that you need to learn to listen. I would say that you need to learn to be the last to speak. I see it in boardrooms every day of the week. Even people who consider themselves good leaders, who may actually be decent leaders, will walk into a room and say, here's the problem, here's what I think, but I'm interested in your opinion, let's go around the room. It's too late. The skill to hold your opinions to yourself until everyone has spoken does two things. One, it gives everybody else the feeling that they have been heard. It gives everyone else the ability to feel that they have contributed. And two, you get the benefit of hearing what everybody else has to think before you render your opinion. The skill is really to keep your opinions to yourself. If you agree with somebody, don't nod yes. If you disagree with somebody, don't nod no. Simply sit there, take it all in, and the only thing you're allowed to do is ask questions so that you can understand what they mean and why they have the opinion that they have. You must understand from where they are speaking, why they have the opinion they have, not just what they are saying. And at the end, you will get your turn. It sounds easy, it's not. So a friend of mine and I, we went for a run in Central Park. The Roadrunners organization, on the weekends, they host races. And it's very common at the end of the race, they'll have a sponsor who will give away something, apples or bagels or something. And on this particular day, when we got to the end of the run, there were some free bagels. And they had picnic tables set up, and on one side was a group of volunteers. On the table were boxes of bagels, and on the other side was a long line of runners waiting to get their free bagel. So I said to my friend, let's get a bagel. And he looked at me and said, the line's too long. And I said, free bagel. And he said, I don't want to wait in line. And I was like, free bagel. And he says, nah, it's too long. And that's when I realized that there's two ways to see the world. Some people see the thing that they want, and some people see the thing that prevents them from getting the thing that they want. I could only see the bagels. He could only see the line.
All the great leaders, everybody from Martin Luther King to Steve Jobs, every single one of them, those with the capacity to inspire, they will think, act, and communicate the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite to the rest of us. Where the rest of us start with what we do, these great leaders, those with the capacity to inspire and lead great change, all of them always start with why they do what they do. Every single organization on the planet, even our own careers, always function on three levels: what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. What we do are the products we make, the services we offer, the things we sell. How we do it are those, whether you call it your unique selling proposition, or your proprietary process, or whatever you want to call it. It's the things that you think make you different or special, stand out from the crowd. But it's this concept of why we do what we do, this purpose, cause, or belief that drives every one of us. Why the company exists in the first place. We don't need another one of whatever you're selling. You know, there's plenty. But why do we need you? And it's not because how you do it differently or what you do. There's something deeper there. It was the very reason why the company was formed. When organizations start with why, the response they will get from people who believe what they believe will be visceral. It will be deeply personal and in the emotional part of the brain. It will be hard for people to explain why they are so drawn to Southwest Airlines or Harley Davidson or Apple. They'll talk about, oh, it's the design, it's the quality, it's the service. But in the reality, it's deeper than that. It's the part of the brain that controls behavior, but not language. The best they can sum up is, I don't know, I just love it. But the reality is, it actually is one of the things that helps them define who they are. Apple is able to inspire loyalty amongst customers and employees, and shareholders for that matter, because the way they view themselves is different than the way most other computer companies view themselves. Most other computer companies define themselves by what they do. They make computers, and everything they try to do is in an effort to improve upon that thing. Add more RAM, add more speed, make it blue. Apple defines themselves by why they exist, to challenge the status quo, and empower the individual, think different. And everything they say and everything they do is to advance that idea.
So in the mid-1980s, a theologian named James Carsey wrote this little book called Finite and Infinite Games, in which he defines these two kinds of games. Finite games, which have known players, fixed rules, and agreed upon objectives. There's always a beginning, a middle, and an end. But the objective is to win the game. And then there's infinite games. Infinite games are defined as known and unknown players. You don't necessarily know who all the other players are. The rules are changeable, play however you want. And the objective is to perpetuate the game, to stay in the game as long as possible. We are players in multiple infinite games every day of our lives. There's no such thing as being a winner in your marriage. There's no such thing as winning global politics. And there's definitely no such thing as winning business.
Finite mindset is everything is about this transaction, this listing. An infinite mindset is, I may win or lose this game, I may win or lose this transaction, and there'll be another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. And the goal is not to win this one. The goal is to be better, and better, and better, and better.
Let me give you a real life example that sheds some light on what I'm talking about. I spoke at an education summit at Microsoft. I also spoke at an education summit at Apple. At the Microsoft Summit, the vast majority of the executives spent the vast majority of their presentations talking about how to be Apple. At the Apple Summit, 100% of the executives spent 100% of their presentations talking about how to help teachers teach and how to help students learn. One was obsessed with where they were going, the other one was obsessed with their competition. At the end of my talk at Microsoft, they gave me a gift. They gave me the new Zune when it was a thing. This was Microsoft's response to the iPod. And this little piece of technology was absolutely incredible. It was beautifully designed. The user interface was intuitive and very simple to use. It was really brilliant, I have to say. So at the end of my Apple talk, I was sharing a taxi with a very senior Apple executive, and I decided to stir the pot. I couldn't help myself. I turned to him and I said, you know, Microsoft gave me their new Zune, and it is so much better than your iPod Touch. To which he said, I have no doubt. And the conversation was over. Because the infinite player understands, sometimes your competitor has the better product, and sometimes you have the better product. And sometimes you're ahead, and sometimes you're behind. But there's no such thing as best or first or beating your competition. There's only ahead and behind. And the reality of an infinite game is you're actually only competing against yourself. That the objective every single day is how do we become a better version of our own institution this year than we were last year? How do we improve the quality of our culture? How do we improve the quality of the way we provide the service that we claim to be providing? How do we improve ourselves? That is the main point of being an infinite game. Because at the end of the day, we don't have the same metrics as everybody else. And we're not even necessarily playing to the same ends. We've all had the experience where one of our colleagues got a promotion and we got upset, we got angry. We got angry at somebody else's success. Think about that for a second. Why couldn't we share in the joy, right? What is it about them that's being revealed in us? That's the problem. Comparison is the deadliest thing we can do to ourselves because we will always come up short. All it does is exaggerate all of our insecurities. It's fun and exciting to try and beat our competitors. But to have to face our own weaknesses every day, that's exhausting. It's much easier to direct all of that discomfort and anxiety we have about competitions and our weaknesses at others. But the problem is that we become so obsessed with winning, sometimes we do things that are quite unethical. It's like being a runner in a race. When we're obsessed with winning in a race, we may trip the other runner, we may trip the other competitor. And yes, we will win the race, but we're still a slow runner. And the problem is in this infinite game, there's another race, and another race, and another race, and it never ends. When we have competitors in business, we adopt this mindset of needing to win or needing to win. The problem is this is not a finite game. There's no such thing as winning. A worthy rival is another player in the game that is worthy of comparison, that in some way, shape, or form reveals to you weaknesses that you have that are opportunities for you to work to improve yourself. You get to pick your own worthy rivals. You can have many of them. They can be entire companies, they can be individuals, they don't even have to be in your industry. But there are people that you respect. You don't have to like them, but you respect that they are better at things than you are, and it shows you where your opportunities to improve are. And remember, in the infinite game, the only true competitor is yourself. And if the game of an infinite mindset, and playing with an infinite mindset, is a game of constant improvement, what better way to discover your weaknesses than from those who are better than us at so many things.
To be organized for the infinite game, it takes courage because we're going to be swimming upstream in a world that is very finite driven.
And it is incredibly difficult to have the courage to stand up to all of the pressures in our lives that are telling us to stay finite, to advance ourselves beyond others, to make as much money this year as possible, to be the best, to be number one in all these artificial rankings with arbitrary ratings and arbitrary time frames.
You know, the pressures on us are overwhelming from Wall Street or our own egos or from internal incentive structures or our bosses, whatever it is. The pressures are overwhelming for us to play the finite game. And so how do you stand up to massive external pressure? Courage. And courage is something that comes from relationships. You know, it's external.
The absolute confidence that someone will be there for you in a time of need is what gives us courage to be there for other people when they need it.
There are days we're going to doubt ourselves. There are days we're going to get knocked in our ass. There are days that storms are going to rise, and we have to have people who say, I got your back. You need to do this. We need you. The world needs this. Keep going.
Which all raises the very interesting question. What does it mean to live an infinite life? Clearly our lives are finite, but life is infinite, and we are simply the players in this infinite game. And in every other infinite game, though we don't get to choose the rules of the game, we do get to choose if we want to play, and we do get to choose how we want to play it. In the game of life, however, we don't get to choose if we want to play. Once you're born, you're a player. The only choice we get is how we want to play. We can choose to live our lives with a finite mindset, to advance our own careers at the expense of others, to try and outdo all of our friends, make more money than everybody else we know, and accumulate as much power as possible, and when we die, we leave it all behind. Or we can choose to live with an infinite mindset, which is to commit ourselves to see that those around us rise, to see that those around us have experiences that they cannot get anywhere else.
And isn't that sort of the point of an infinite life? To leave this world in better shape than we found it, to leave the companies that we work for in better shape than when we started, to leave our families stronger and better capable than they can do without us. You know, isn't that what it means to live an infinite life? That we can literally live on beyond our own lives.
Okay. All right. Just watched this video a couple of times, and this is my third time. The more that I watch it, the more I get convicted, about that. I think, there's so many external pressures that we face, and not only like at work, I feel it, and also not only with our families, with our friends, but our own insecurities. Day in, day out, we feel that, right? I think, at times, we measure ourselves with metrics, and I always call it, let's do metrics. How are we doing? How are we doing? But at times, to my weakness, I look at our improvement based on how we reach the goal. I think the goal, is to really improve every single day. To be, I think, the word that they've used is better. And I think we're better together. We're better than yesterday. We're going to be better, for tomorrow. And I think that's the goal. For you to be better every single day. I remember I asked my management team to read The Atomic Habit, and I think, if you just improve 1% every single day, that 1% can compound throughout the year. And you're not the same person from the day you started to the day you stop. And I think, guys, at times we focus so much on metrics and how are we comparing ourselves with competitors. But I think the goal for each of one of you and each of the team here is to be the better team every single day. So, have you guys lost sight? And I think, through the years, I've lost sight, I lost sight, and I remember. And I think, through the years, the pressures of the changes, the uncertainties, guys, I'm sure, I think I was talking to, who was that I was talking to? I said, have you read the book, Who Moved the Cheese? And he was a younger guy. Oh, he was, sorry, he's 25, 26 years old. And I'm like, no, I haven't heard that, quote, Who Moved the Cheese? I'm sorry, I'm dating myself, that was like a Gen X thing where, who moved the cheese. So it's more like they did an experiment where, the rat would know, or the mouse would know where to find a cheese. Like, okay, every single time they know the cheese. But one time, they moved that cheese to somewhere else. The mouse got overwhelmed, like, what am I gonna do, what am I gonna do? So he needs to kind of find, where the cheese is. Then eventually, there were barriers after barriers after barriers, obstacle after obstacle. But at the end, because he tries every single time to be better, to refine, to redefine, the pathway that he does, he finally found the cheese. And at this time, guys, our industry, even our company, is changing. There's so many uncertainties there. And even the uncertainties, guys, things that would impact is probably even your personal life, relationship-wise, even on top of work. But our group here, is bound to change, okay? And that's the question, like, okay, once that cheese is moved, what do we do, okay? Once there are obstacles, and I think I've heard, even this year, our reimbursement rate had been changed again in home care. Crazy, $200 less. But on the other side, sometimes like we compare ourselves with home care and hospice, and I think when we look at hospice, oh my gosh, they're growing like crazy, and home care is basically remaining like this, would go up, go here, go up. But I think it's really redefining and refining our character, but refining also our process and even our mindset. And sometimes, not sometimes, I think the majority of times we can get really frustrated. And when we get frustrated, it's hard to move on. We lose sight of why we do the things that we do, and we lose sight of why you are here. So how do we do this, guys? Moving forward. So the admin, you guys support the field staff. We support the marketers, the marketers support the clinician, and the only way that we can do this is to really embrace the obstacle. To know what those obstacles are, right? So we know that, Medicare is trimming down, in terms of Medicare, Medicare Advantage coming in. So there's a new game again. And that's why when they talk about finite and infinite game, I hope that you can embrace that it's an infinite game. Life is infinite and it's gonna change. Tell you a story too, like parenting, to those who are parents here. It's frustrating when I had toddlers because it's physical. You're running them around, going everywhere. I'm like, gosh, it's tiring. And sometimes you're exhausted, especially with the new moms, the first 90 days, the 90-day fog. I'm sure you can relate, you can't go to sleep. Or when they're toddlers, also always about safety, in terms of them getting hurt. But the good thing about that is that you can tell them what to do. You do this, and this is what's gonna happen, and they will listen at a moment, time. Now, going back to there, I didn't, no one prepared us. That as a parent, that life is going to change when you have adult kids. So now, the adult kids that you have, there are certain things that you really can't control, right? They will make their own choices. They will make those decisions that you see, that's a train wreck, about to happen. And that's something that you should have knew, but guess what? No, I know what I'm doing, right? I think it's the same across the board life, guys, is that things can get thrown at you that we're not prepared. And we're never going to be prepared. Even though we forecast, we do this with all of the metric, we do this is what's going to happen. The only thing that we can do every single day is to refine our character and refine the things that we do. We do it better every single day. If you have that mindset, to look back yesterday, what did I do yesterday, and have a self-reflection, okay, that's not what I'm going to do, I'm going to do better today. If I did the same, sorry, marketer, I have one referral, well, I met 2 people here and I got this, maybe tomorrow I'll do 3. But the thing is, not being afraid to fail or not meet those goals, but being challenged that, hey, I can do better the next day, okay? One, guys, please, I would be honest, and I think these are the things that we're committing in management, that I would be genuine when I communicate with you. I will make sure that if there's conflict, that we will resolve it, and basically maybe, that conflict can expose different issues, but at the same time, that we know what we're doing, that it's clear. At times, guys, as I've said, my fault at times is I have so many ideas. So many things that's going in my head, like I'm gonna do it. And then basically like, okay, I need people to execute them who are better than me. you know. And I think, you know, even from scheduling, like I can probably share the, you know, this is what I think we should be doing, and this is what I think on. But the thing is, the process of it is basically, I'm sure probably I can't execute it. You know, probably the schedulers can execute it better than me. You know, or even, you know, like Jelly and my son, for sure, that is right. Okay, I appreciate that. Maybe, you know, in marketing too. Like I think I'm a good salesperson, you know, but the connection that you have with the sources, I may not have the same connection. You know, and I think, you know, even payroll, like I just talked to Tara the other day, can you do this? Because I don't know how to figure that out. So, and she just kind of whipped it up and like, there you go. Great. You know, I need different people, you know, across the board. Joy is really, you know, on it, you know, in terms of just making sure things are followed up. Things are working in terms of, you know, just the reports and the numbers, and I can just go to her with that. So what I'm sharing is that we need each other, guys. And I think, you know, the concept of, you know, the other person not making your life difficult. You know, we just want to do better. You know, and I hope that is the approach. Perception, guys, is everything. You know, and I know that perception is not reality, but it can be a great game changer. All right? It's perspective. And sometimes, you know, I was talking to the call, because we have our hospice call in the morning, right? So the hospice call, we do that. It's about 15 minutes, and we talk about, you know, perspective. Because when you are fearful, and sometimes our mind says like, I'm afraid. But instead, you change that perspective. It's like, oh, it's an opportunity for me to grow. Or, you know, when you say that I failed, right? I think, you know, one point in time across here, people probably have felt you failed, whether your numbers, whether maybe in your relationship, or whether in parenting or whatsoever, that you feel like I failed at that moment. But instead of focusing on that perspective that we failed, that we didn't hit the goal, we didn't, you know, accomplish the things that we needed to do, failure can be, hey, it's growth. You know, we're going to learn from that. So what I'm saying, guys, is that, you know, this year, 2024, our perspective should be different. You know, and I know at times it can be discouraging to be negative, to look at the results, but I think I want to challenge each one of you to change your perspective. Okay, we can do this. I think I like what he said here, that we need each other when things are not doing well, that you can say with one another, I got your back. Hey, I have you, I got this, you know, take some time off. Or, hey, you know what, it's gonna be okay, we can do this together. I think those things can really just, you know, move things quicker, but also encourage people, and we can change. I think, you know, some of you, and I think no pun intended here, because I think I shared, you know, what does a good team looks like, okay, connection. And the only true test, you know, for a good team is when it experienced rough times, turbulent times, when the team does not agree, or you have a perspective that was not in agreement with the other one, or basically we're not doing well, and basically no one's supporting me. So again, people can resign and quit and stop. But a good team, though, and if we are connected with each other, that it would allow them to push through. And when I was sharing that, and I felt a little bit bad, worse, because the thing is, there were a few people that, okay, they moved on because of frustration, moved on because things are, you know, people in their team is not pushing through. You know, and a part of that, you know, I have to take responsibility of actions that I should have changed that, or we should probably have talked more, but we can only do the things that we do. But again, what I'm sharing, guys, is that we also need to take accountability that we allowed ourselves to get there. Okay? So this 2024, admin, you know, marketing here, that we need to really just be genuine and open. You know, to persevere and just share. Because again, what do I usually say? If somebody's burdened, if you share it, what does that mean? It's a shared burden. And if that person also has that burden, like, okay, I'm gonna help that person too. Let's do that. So that's why I'm into now, like, hey, let's own the zone, own the team, make sure that we help each other. So this, you know, initiative that we're trying to do is that we're gonna own each zone. And that each person that's in there, yeah, somebody may probably lead it, but each person should own it to make sure that they're better. that zone's better. It's not a competition, but hey, different zones have different culture, and different zones can also think differently, okay? Are you guys a control freak? I am. It doesn't show. I pretend that I'm not controlling, but I think people know that I am.
No, we're not.
Never,
Just you.
never.
I know, and I think, Joey said, like, I think, sorry, so who were you ever in the call in growth 3 and 4 or 5? I think, Joey said, like, Edwin, like, seemed like your voice was frustrated and, on that call. I'm like, okay, I have to control those. I think it's more of like, okay, what do we do? I'm really asking for help. I think I like what, I'm gonna practice it, is that, my word would be, somebody's frustrated or there's conflict, there's a problem, I should not be quick to fix it, but to basically, hey, tell me more. And I think, for marketers, your sources, if they're having an issue, ask them, tell me more. Like what's happening, rather than getting defensive. If your teams, or even your person that you oversee, ask them if they're saying, I don't agree with this process, I'm discouraged, or I'm this, okay, tell me more. Listen, and I think at times, because I'm so quick to fix it, that I already have an idea prior to you even saying what you have to say. I think, we can really fix this, guys, to be a better team, to be a better agency. And I think, for us, when we have each other's back and we truly listen, things can change. Remember, guys, the whys. All right? So I think, you guys, why are you here? All right? And why do you think that you want to come in and do the things that you do? Why do you market? Why do you want to go do that? I do would want, why do you want to be part of this team? Why optimal? Why follow Virginia, or why follow me, or why follow, the people that are here? Are they also aligned with what we do? So my question, though, is that sometimes we try to control it, but if those things we can't control, but for a fact that, okay, I'm aligned with this person, then I'm just gonna make sure that I understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. I think there are things, guys, that we don't look at it we look at it more of an obstacle rather than an opportunity. So I just encourage you guys that whether if you are not a supervisor or a lead, that you can influence at any level. Change, okay? We need to kind of create change. And how do we create change, guys? Ownership and also responsibility. And I think, the whole thing of going in the zone is that I want to bring in people that they would own it. Because sometimes they get so siloed and they say, hey, I'm gonna do this, I'm just gonna be a field staff, I'm gonna do this. But please, guys, here, my encouragement to you is connect with them, bring them in. And that's why there's more collaboration meeting, like, oh, it's meeting again. But the good thing about that is that you will get to know each other, you will connect. One of the things that I'm gonna say, guys, here, it's never gonna be perfect. And I think, who are perfectionists here? There you go, we have some, All right, okay, we have several. And there are also probably like some of them there too. Guess what? You're gonna get frustrated. All right, you're gonna get frustrated with us. Maybe you should get frustrated with me. This is what I call the perfect is the enemy of the good. All right, because it's never gonna be perfect. And I think, what happened there is that we focus on, it can really hinder progress and satisfaction because it's an infinite game. We may probably win that, what he was saying, we can win this transaction, but the next day we don't win it, you get frustrated because it didn't follow on your winning streak. But the thing is, I want to, at least for you guys to be thinking in terms of perfection, is that, hey, I want to perfect by striving to do better every single day. That means focusing on making things good enough rather than fixating on the flawlessness. Okay? We're all flawed. And if you're telling me that you're not flawed, okay, you're lying. Okay, that's your imperfection. All right? But I want to ask, guys, is that do your magic. Create ripples in your own group. Because I think, people say like, oh, we can change the world. I think we can change one person at a time. You change yourself, help the other person change it, and it will create a ripple. Your greatest strength, guys, and I think this is the thing, Your perfection was also your greatest weakness. People who are detailed, that is going to be your greatest weakness. You know, me having a lot of these ideas and a fix-it person, that's my greatest weakness too. So be aware of that. What I would want to at least ask, I think Joy and Maritza, and I wanted to kind of ask you to come up here and just kind of just share a little bit of, you know, even just probably there, up there. You can just stand up, Joy. What is your experience, you know, in terms of just being better together? Say it. Come on, Maritza.
So I think for intake success, the collaboration between the marketers, agreement, scheduling, billing, Oasis, and clinical is the thing that determines our success. Because together we're better.
Oh, okay. Okay, you guys, they're really nervous. All right, so I told them last night, can you just kind of share like what you think is better, you know, since we started? Like, are you sure you want to share? Give me just 2 minutes or 1 minute. Thanks, Maritza, I appreciate it. So that, there you go. You're better today. And because the other day you were not trying to share, but now you share. All right? So you are better. Joy.
I think for me, I cannot do this alone. Like, thank you. I will make this moment to thank my team. And also, my team cannot do this without, of course, a marketer, collaboration with RCM, medical records for CJ. CJ, without you guys, we cannot do this. So, team, there's no I in team. So, and team is together, everyone. M is making this achievement. Like, we can achieve more for the team. That's it.
I was teasing Joy the other day. Okay, you have a 30-minute talk. And then she was about to have a heart attack. I was like, and she was like, no. There was one person here. I'm sorry, I'm going to share these. So one of the supervisors said, okay, you know, you have 2 minutes. Can you just share this? So like this person was all ready to go, you know, come here. But I think he got my email last night, so he called in sick. But he's working. So again, okay, you know, that's something that we can work on. So
there you go, that's it. That's your fault.
So I asked, you know, the manager, can you just call that person and just say, it's okay, he can come in with a mask, he doesn't have to talk, it's okay. He said, no, I'm going to try to come in the afternoon. But again, guys, here's the goal. Here's just, you know, like our discussion here. I want you guys to refocus on just being better every day. I think that's it. You know, and basically evaluate what you did yesterday and be better today and the next day. Because I think, you know, guys, like with improvement after improvement, and yes, you know, I'm going to try to tell you this is the goal, this is the goal, but I need to also be better on how to help you guys achieve those goals, and that they're realistic, and that they're reasonable, and that we need to change, that we can make it together, okay? Before we go, any thoughts? Any thoughts of what we can do better, you know, or what you can do better on a personal perspective, you know, not to kind of put you on the spot, but any thoughts? Sean?
I guess be more collaborative as a team player. You have to be very individualized for the task, but just get more helping with the team.
Good, thank you. Khalid, thank you for raising your hand.
Oh, dude.
You should have been prepared.
I've done music.
I feel like I was telling them everyone got their own cliques. I'm kind of by myself, but
Because Ena's not here. No, you're a part of the team. You're the I in the team.
I am
There's no I in the
All right. Now, Khalid is awesome. Like, I think he's trying to really help across the board, so it's good. Any other thoughts here? And this, you guys are pretty quiet, you know. Beth, you were saying something?
What's Beth?
Beth, good job. All right. Sorry for putting you guys on the spot. Please get your sweatshirts, guys. You know, we definitely, got that. It's a great sweatshirt. I think it's good quality for sure. It is. Yeah. Even Dana said, my gosh, I've never said that this is gonna probably ask for everyone. Even Jason said, "Can I have 2?" I'm like, "Great." And who said that? Dana or someone
You
like?
don't understand. I'm always under the budget. I'm the one that has to.
And Dana said, "Did you register?"
Give it away.
Right, thank you guys. Please just, that's the mindset, that's the charge. Hopefully that you guys have got something out of it and that you have that takeaway. Please be evaluating your why this week. All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.